Hey YouTube, welcome back for the black set review for Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. We're going to jump right on in, starting with Assassin's Ink. Assassin's Ink is 2 black for an instant at uncommon. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control an artifact, and 1 less to cast if you control an enchantment. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. This is Impale. Impale is very good. I can't remember if Impale. One of them was an instant. Don't actually me. Very good instant speed, unconditional removal, and maybe even cheaper if you have an artifact and or an enchantment, preferably and an enchantment. So yeah, easy snap, very high pick here. We're talking second pick. There's very little you're picking over this outside of an unconditional bomb. Up next is Biting Palm Ninja. Biting Palm Ninja is 2 and a black for Melina. Looks kind of like Melina. Creature Human Ninja at rare. It's a 3/3 with ninjutsu for 2 and a black. Biting Palm Ninja enters the battlefield with a menace counter on it. We're back to having keyword counters. Whenever Biting Palm Ninja deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a menace counter from it. When you do, that player reveals their hand, and you choose a non-land card from it. Exile that card. Oh, there's so many cards in Modern Magic where my eyes just glaze over halfway through. So it's a 3/3 for 3 with ninjutsu for 2 and a black, and it enters with a menace counter on it. Cool. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you can remove a menace counter from it, and when you do, that player reveals their... Okay, you Thoughtseize them. Okay, it's a good card. It's a good card. It's a 3/3 for 3 with ninjutsu. I'll probably just keep the menace on it. I don't care about really Thoughtseizing my opponent much in limited. That's just not a thing that terribly matters. If it's worthwhile, if you don't need the menace counter that badly, cool. You're first picking this card. Up next is Blade of the Oni. Blade of the Oni is 1 and a black for an artifact creature equipment demon. At Mythic, it's a 3/1 with menace. Equipped creature has base power and toughness 5/5, has menace, and is a black demon, in addition to its other colors and types. Reconfigure for 2 black. So we've got a Blade here, 3/1 for 2 with menace. And then for 4 mana, we turn something into a 5/5 menace. Cool. Good Mythic is good. Good Mythic is good. We will first pick the good Mythic. Up next is Chainfall Centipede. Chainfall Centipede is 2 and black for an artifact creature equipment insect at common. It's a 2/2. Whenever Chainfall Centipede or equipped creature attacks, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Reconfigure for 2. So 3 mana 2/2 sucks. But when it attacks as a 4/2. Three mana 4/2 is okay, but I like the fact that I can block with a 3 mana 4/2 and maybe trade up. This can't trade up. This will never trade up. This is very filler for, like, I need an artifact. You can pick this up on the wheel, I suspect. It's just not. It's not great, and I wouldn't look to play it. But as with 99% of Magic cards these days, you can play it. It does not have menace. There is no menace anywhere on this card. It's a 2/2. Yeah, there's no menace on this. If there was menace, it would be a lot better. Up next is Clawing Torment. Clawing Torment is a single black mana for an enchantment aura at common. Enchant artifact or creature. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets -1/-1 and can't block. Enchanted permanent has, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. Okay, so it's half of a stab wound. Yeah, cool. Half a stab wound is great. And your opponent can't even throw the creature in front as a chump block to get rid of the stab wound. This card, I like. I like this card a lot. I'm surprised this is common. Sold. I'm all about this card. Now, what it does say is this creature attacks each turn, if able, because your opponent will attack with this creature every turn, because at some point you're going to block it. So it's probably not going to do as much as you want it to, unfortunately, and as much as I was a little bit hoping for it. Yeah, this is nowhere near as good as Stab Wound. 2 life is... This is hard math. Twice as much as 1 life a turn. Yeah, this is probably nowhere near as good as Stab Wound. I think you can wheel this. I'm curious to see how this works, but I just don't think that it's gonna do too much. Yeah, you could throw it on a defender, but there's not too many defenders kicking around. Up next is Debt to the Kami. Debt to the Kami is 2 and a black for an instant at common. Choose one. Target opponent exiles a creature they control, or target opponent exiles an enchantment they control. It is an edict. Edicts are not great. I do like them at instant speed because when your opponent plays like their second creature in response, you can do this to sack their first creature. But edicts are just not that good in limited. Your opponent gets to choose what goes away, and they will pick the least impactful thing to go away. That's how edicts work. Don't overvalue edicts. I'm going to put this at a wheel, and I'm not going to look to terribly play it. Maybe as like enchantment hate out of the sideboard, but it's going to be very hard for me to find a spot for an edict in my deck as long as I got enough playables. Up next is Dockside Chef. Dockside Chef is a single black mana for an enchantment creature human citizen at uncommon. It's a 1/2. Pay 1 and a black, sacrifice an artifact or creature, draw a card. Well, here's a sacrifice outlet. It's a little bit costly at 2 mana. It's a little bit costly at 2 mana, but that's not awful. And drawing a card is nice. I suspect you'll pick this somewhat highly. It doesn't block as well as the 1/4 that we saw recently. But yeah, this is probably pretty decent. I'm on like 4th, 5th pick for Dockside Chef, I think. I think it'll probably do a lot of card draw. And I've not yet seen if there's a threaten effect, but if there's a threaten effect, well, this is a good way to sack whatever you threatened. Up next is Dokuchi Shadow-Walker. Dokuchi Shadow-Walker is 4 black for a creature ogre ninja. It's a common. It's a 5/5. It's got ninjutsu 4. This is the bottom case scenario for your blue-black ninjutsu deck. You probably shouldn't be playing this if your draft went well. This is the scrounging for filler playables. You can probably safely wheel this, and you probably should not be actively looking to play it. There are just better cards. Up next is Dokuchi Silencer. Dokuchi Silencer is 1 and a black for a creature human ninja at uncommon. It's a 2/1 with ninjutsu 1 and a black. Whenever Dokuchi Silencer deals combat damage to a player, you may discard a creature card. When you do, destroy target creature or planeswalker that player controls. Okay, so 2 mana, discard a creature card, kill a creature as long as it's unblocked. This probably goes better in the black-green deck, which cares about the graveyard and has some reanimation and some recursion, because you probably would like that creature to be back. This is kind of like a Bone Splinters. You are sacrificing a creature from your hand. And Bone Splinters is not amazing, but this is still good. Like, this is not bad. We're just deciding between if this is like 3rd, 4th pick, or maybe it's more like 5th, 6th, 7th pick. I'll put this on 5th, 6th pick. It's pretty high cost to discard a creature card. If you have some recursion or something going on, it's definitely going to go up in value. But let's go 5th, 6th pick for Dokuchi Silencer. Up next is Enormous Energy Blade. Enormous Energy Blade is 2 and a black for an artifact equipment at uncommon. Equipped creature gets +4/+0. Whenever Enormous Energy Blade becomes attached to a creature, tap that creature. Equip 2. So 3 mana, 2 to equip, and you tap the creature. But then that creature has +4/+0. That's a lot of work to not add much. Like, you can give something +1,000/+0 and it still just gets jump blocked. Like, you need to be giving this to a flyer, you need to be giving this to a trampler, you need to be giving this to something that you can make use of the +4/+0. You can put it on a creature that's already tapped, so like you can do this after attacks. That would be the ideal. But this feels like a trap. This feels like, look at this giant artifact. This feels like the hammer. This feels like the hammer from M20 or whatever it was. I don't want to play this. There's better equipment. There's better artifacts. There's better ways to get power and maybe even toughness on things. I think there's better stuff to do than play Enormous Energy Blade. I'm going to start out wheeling this. And realistically, I think it's going to be a very long time before I ever actually play it. Up next is Goshintai of Hidden Cruelty. 3 and a black for legendary enchantment creature Shrine at uncommon. It's a 2/2 with Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. When you do, destroy target creature with toughness X or less, where X is the number of shrines you control. Again, realistically, you're just not getting many shrines. Like, you would be lucky to get a second shrine of a different color. At which point, you have to draw both, play both, and both of them have to not die because they're creatures, which means they're the most vulnerable thing that exists. And you get there, and you can now kill an X2. So realistically, I think this is a 4-mana 2/2 Death Touch, which is not great. And it says that your opponent can't or shouldn't play X1s. Which, I mean, there's not that many X1s that people are playing and that you're afraid of. So I think this is just not very good. I think you can wheel this. Like, yeah, the M21 shrines I think were a lot better, and they weren't great. Although I did build the shrine deck a few times. Yeah, I'm not touching this. I'm gonna wheel this. I'll do the shrine thing sometime, but I will fully understand that I shouldn't be doing the shrine thing. Up next is Gravelighter. Gravelighter is 2 and a black for a creature spirit at uncommon. It's a 2/2 flyer. When Gravelighter enters the battlefield, draw a card if a creature died this turn. Otherwise, each player sacrifices a creature. So it's a fleshy bee, but morbid. Instead, draw a card. And it flies, which is something that fleshy bee does not do. Good card's good. I like Fleshbag Marauder quite a bit. And that was just always each player sacrifices something. The fact that I might just the fact that this might just be 3-mana 2/2 flyer draw card is really good. I'll pick this pretty highly. I'll pick this like 5th-ish, 4th-ish, 5th-ish. I think this will do some work. I think this will do some work. Either way that it works, either way, whether you draw the card or whether you get a symmetrical sack, I'm in. Up next is Hidetsuku Devouring Chaos. 3 and a black for a legendary creature Ogre Demon at rare. It's a 4/4. Pay black, sacrifice a creature, scry 2. Pay 2 and a red, tap, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile a non-land card this way, Hidetsuku Devouring Chaos deals damage equal to the exiled card's mana value to any target. Sold! This card's great. 4 mana, 4/4, 3 mana, and I get to kind of draw a card and hit my opponent's face, pick off a creature, do whatever. Sold. And if I want to pay black, sack a creature, scry 2, cool. It even synergizes with the 2 and a red ability too, because you can do both, because the first one doesn't tap, the second one does. This card's great. You'll first pick it every time. I look forward to playing with this card. Up next is Inkrise Infiltrator. Inkrise Infiltrator is 1 and a black for a creature human ninja at common. It's a 1/2 flyer. Pay 3 and a black. Inkrise Infiltrator gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Like, it's a ninjutsu enabler, but so is any creature that exists. There are better creatures than this for every purpose. Wheel it. Preferably don't play it. Hard wheel. Up next is Invoke Despair. Invoke Despair is 1 black, 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 black for a sorcery at rare. Target opponent sacrifices a creature. If they can't, they lose 2 life and you draw a card. Then repeat this process for an enchantment and a planeswalker. No. The 1 blue, 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 I will love to play that. The 1 white, 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 or 1 white, 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 not a big fan. The 1 black, 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 this one's bad. This one's actively bad. 5 mana, incredibly hard to cast Edict effect. That if they can't Edict, A, you're winning the game because they have no board. You get to do 2 damage and draw a card. And then enchantment. And then I guess they're not going to have a planeswalker, so it's always at least dealing 2 and drawing you a card. But this looks bad to me. This looks really bad. This looks hard to cast and nowhere near worth it. I'm on an F. I'm never going to pick this anywhere high enough to ever actually play it, and I don't think I ever want to play it. Up next is Junji the Midnight Sky. 3 black, black for a legendary creature dragon spirit at Mythic. It's a 5/5 flying menace. Yeah, it is a flying menace, I'll tell you that much. When Junji the Midnight Sky dies, choose 1. Each opponent discards 2 cards and loses 2 life. Or put target non-dragon creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. You lose 2 life. This card's insane. This is the best dragon we've seen so far by a mile. Easy first pick. You are probably choosing the second one because you're taking the best card that any player has ever played and has died, and it's now yours. Oh no, you lose 2 life. Or you're just mind-rotting them and dealing them 2. This card's possibly the best card we've seen so far in the set. Easy snap first pick. Up next is Kaito's Pursuit. Kaito's Pursuit is 2 and a black for a sorcery at common. Target player discards 2 cards. Ninjas and rogues you control gain menace until end of turn. Here's our mind rot. It's a mind rot. You can play a mind rot. Try to find better cards than mind rot. Wheel it. Yes, it helps out with ninjutsu. Sure, whatever. Up next is Kami of Restless Shadows. Kami of Restless Shadows is 4 and a black for a creature spirit at common. It's a 3/3. When Kami of Restless Shadows enters the battlefield, choose 1. Return up to 1 target ninja or rogue creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Or put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. 5 mana 3/3. Gross. ETB, regrow a ninja or rogue. No. That's too expensive. This is the baseline filler, didn't quite get there, black-green card. This is the recursion. There's so many better ways to recur. This is expensive. The body it leaves behind is not impactful. It specifically only returns to your hand a ninja or a rogue. Putting a creature on top of my library, it needs to be a good creature. Like, I'm not putting my 1/1 for 1 on top of my library ever. So this is a hard wheel. It is oh, it is forced recursion. That's true. That's true. Yeah, this is a wheel, and you shouldn't be playing this. You should be attempting to just get better cards for your black-green deck or your black whatever deck. This is sort of the fail. It's not forced recursion. Put target. Yes, because you could always choose 1, or you could always choose 0 for the first one. You could always choose 0 for the first one. Up next is Kami of Terrible Secrets. Secrets. Kami of Terrible Secrets is 3 and a black for a creature spirit at common. It's a 3/4. When Kami of Terrible Secrets enters the battlefield, if you control an artifact and an enchantment, you draw a card and gain 1 life. Cool. Make sure you have artifacts and enchantments. Make sure you think you're going to have both, because you don't want to pay a 4 mana. You don't want to play a 4 mana 3/4. That would feel real bad. But if you draw a card and gain a life and have a 3/4, that's pretty decent. So, wheel. I don't think you have to spend a real pick on this, and it's really meant for mostly the black-white deck that's going to have artifacts and enchantments, although any black X deck could have that. But yeah, make sure you've got it. Make sure you're not playing just a vanilla 3/4 for 4. Up next is Leech Gauntlet. Leech Gauntlet is 1 and a black for an artifact creature equipment leech at uncommon. It's a 2/2 with lifelink. Equipped creature has lifelink. Reconfigure for 4. So it is a Bishop Soldier, not Bishop Soldier, Bishop Soldier? Whatever the vampire was from Ixalan. 2 mana, 2/2 lifelink is fine, and being able to give something else lifelink is pretty cool, and then being able to give something else lifelink is pretty cool, and then give something else lifelink. Yeah, this is all fine. It's in the like 5th-ish pick range, 4th-ish, 5th-ish pick range. It's not a bomb, it's not amazing, it's not removal, it's not any of that. It's just fine. So 4th, 5th pick for Leech Gauntlet. Up next is Lethal Exploit. Lethal Exploit is 1 and a black for an instant at common. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. It gets an additional -1/-1 until end of turn for each modified creature you controlled as you cast this spell. Okay, so I mean, I don't hate this as -2/-2. And if I get more, that's cool. Yeah, Tezzeret would work on Reconfigure because that is an activated ability. Basically, anything that has cost : is an activated ability. Yeah, I like this. Like, I would treat this as defeat or something. I would treat this as it's going to kill an X2. And if I get to kill an X3 or an X4 or an X5, cool. It's not unconditional removal. It's not first pick, second pick, third pick, fourth pick even. But put me down for like 5th to 7th or so, and I'm probably not going to stock up on these unless I'm definitely modifying the crap out of my stuff, which is more the red-green plan as we've talked about. But yeah, this seems fine. 5th through 7th pick. Up next is Life of Toshiro Why can I not say the last name? Umezawa. Umezawa. Toshiro Umezawa. 1 and a black for an Enchantment Saga add-on common. Step 1 and Step 2, pick one. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Or you gain 2 life. Get it? Because it's kind of like Umezawa's Jite. And then Step 3, we get our hands on Memory of Toshiro. 2/3 enchantment creature human samurai. Tap and pay a life to add 1 black mana. Spend this mana only to cast an instant or sorcery spell. Okay, so 2 mana, and we get ourselves a sorcery speed +2/+2. Or we get a -1/-1, so ideally we'd be doing this like after combat, and something has been dealt X-1 or X+1, X-1 lethal damage. Or we could just gain 2 life. Those are all cool options, and they're all going to have usability. And this being a 2/3 at the end that we can then ramp a little tiny bit on instants or sorceries is fine. This card is all fine. Nothing here is like blowing my mind. The backside especially feels low impact. Like, limited decks are 15-ish creatures usually. You're not going to have that many instants and sorceries. So being able to ramp is not really going to do much, and you're not really going to activate it much. I think this card is all around okay, and I think it's in like the 6th-ish pick range. I think people are going to overvalue this. It just doesn't do enough for me to go higher than 6th. So 6th pick for Life of Toshiro Umezawa. Up next is the Long Reach of Night. The Long Reach of Night is 3 and a black for an enchantment saga and uncommon. Step 1, each opponent sacrifices a creature unless they discard a card. Step 2, same thing. Okay, I mean, 2 edicts for 1 starts to get a bit better. Still isn't amazing, but starts to get a bit better. And then on the backside, we get an 0/4 with Menace. Whenever Animus of Night's Reach attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of creature cards in defending player's graveyard. Well, there's hopefully going to be at least 2. So this is a 2/4 Menace, then a 3/4, then a 4/4, then etc. This card seems pretty good. Again, edicts are not great, but when you get 2 edicts plus at least a 2/4 with Menace, that all starts to be pretty decent. This is a pretty good card that I'm going to pick relatively highly in the 4th, 5th pick range. I like this one infinitely more than I like the Life of Toshiro Umezawa. Up next, it could just be a slow Mind Rot. It doesn't discard. Oh, yeah. They might also discard cards, so it could also be a Mind Rot, but yeah. I like the card. I like the deck. I like the card. Up next is Malicious Malfunction. Malicious Malfunction is 1 black for a sorcery at uncommon. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. If a creature would die this turn, exile it instead. I don't tend to like these effects. The Bile Blight effects and whatnot. Like super low toughness wraths. They're for the world of constructed. They're for the world of standard. I've never liked them in limited. No one's going to convince me different. I'm not going to play this card probably. Maybe out of the side if I find that my opponent is playing a ludicrous amount of X2s and I'm not playing that many X2s. Maybe, but otherwise I'm going to pick this very late on the wheel. I just don't like these cards. Never have, never will. Up next is March of Wretched Sorrow. March of Wretched Sorrow is X and a black for an instant at rare. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of black cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each card exiled this way. March of Wretched Sorrow deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and you gain X life. So again, we've got some great, relatively unconditional removal here. Plus, we can blow past what's required. You know, we could kill their X1 by dumping 10 mana into this thing, and we would still gain 10 life. Good removal is good. It's instant speed even. Easy first pick for March of Wretched Sorrow. Up next is Mukotai Ambusher. Mukotai Ambusher is 3 and a black for an artifact creature rat ninja at common. It's a 3/2 with ninjutsu for 1 and a black. It's got lifelink. Here is a nice filler ninjutsu artifact creature. It's fine. There's basically levels of like, you don't want to play this one. This one is fine. Play it. Good ones. This one's in the middle level there. You are totally okay to play this. It is totally fine. You are not going out of your way to find it, but you are probably not playing it. So 6th-ish pick range, 6th, 7th-ish. Definitely just pre-wheel. No heat map this time, unfortunately. The extension is just not working. It doesn't exist in Twitch's backend for some reason. Up next is Mukotai Soul Ripper. Mukotai Soul Ripper is 1 and a black for an artifact vehicle at rare. It's a 4/3. Whenever Mukotai Soul Ripper attacks, you may sacrifice another artifact or creature. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on Mukotai Soul Ripper, and it gains menace until end of turn through 2. 2 is relatively low. We've got ourselves a 4/3 here. And we can give it menace and a +1/+1 counter by sacking something. Seems decent. Not bomby, not good, because like I need to play it. I need to have something to crew it. I need to be willing to sack it or sack something in order to get the menace and get the counter. And then if I want to keep getting counters and menace, I need to have a bunch of things to sack. So I'm not over the moon for it. Don't necessarily think it needs to be a rare. I'm on like 4th pick for this. It's not the rare vehicle that I want to see. Up next is Nashi Moon Sage's Scion. Nashi is 1 black for a legendary creature rat ninja at Mythic. It's a 3/2. Ninjutsu for 3 and a black. Whenever Nashi Moon Sage's Scion deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library. Until end of turn, you may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. Interesting. So 3 mana 3/2, ninjutsu 4. My top card and your top card both get exiled, and if I would like, I can cast one, but I have to pay life to cast it. So you're probably not going willy-nilly casting every single thing that you pull off the top every single time this hits. You might want to be just a slight bit choosy, but not too choosy. The card's good. It's an easy first pick. Something about it feels like slightly less than I would want for a Mythic. I don't know if it's that I can only play one of those cards, or if it's the fact that it's life. Because like if I reveal their 6-drop bomb, 6 life might be too much to pay. So you might want to pair this with Lifelink, but I'm sure this is good. I'm sure there's a lot that you can do, and you don't have to cast anything. If it would kill you, you just don't cast it, as unfortunate as it would be. As well, those cards do stay exiled. So if you hit their 6-mana bomb and you can't cast it, it's still exiled. They're not going to cast it either. So good card's good. First pick. Up next is Nezumi Bladeblesser. Nezumi Bladeblesser is 2 and a black for a creature Rat Samurai at common. It's a 3/2. Nezumi Bladeblesser has Death Touch as long as you control an artifact. Nezumi Bladeblesser has Menace as long as you control an enchantment. 3/2 for 3, not good. 3/2 for 3 Death Touch, 3/2 for 3 Menace, okay. Menace Death Touch. I know people love Menace Death Touch because they're always like, they have to block with 2 things and I get to kill them both. Just like Edicts, they still get to choose what 2 things block. But yes, it is good. It's better than not having Menace. This is relatively fillerish. Maybe just like a half step above filler if you are in the black-white artifact and enchantment deck. But you can pick this pretty late. We're talking like 8th-ish pick. Up next is Nerumi Prowler. Nerumi Prowler is 1 and a black for an artifact creature Rat Ninja at uncommon. It's a 3/1 with ninjutsu for 1 and a black as well. When Nerumi Prowler enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. Cool. I like blades. I like blades that give Death Touch and Lifelink to something on cast or on ninjutsu. Perhaps on ninjutsu to themselves. Does it have 2 heads? No. No, it does not. Yeah, good card's good. I like blades. I will pick this high-ish, like 6th-ish. Again, it is just a 3/1 for 2. You're not picking the 2nd, 3rd pick. I don't care that it's an uncommon, but I do like it a fair bit. So 6th-ish, maybe 5th-ish. I like blades. I like blades a lot. Up next is Okiba Reckoner Raid. Okiba Reckoner Raid is a single black mana for an enchantment saga at common. Step 1 and Step 2, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Big whoop. And then we get a 2/2 with Menace. And vehicles you control have Menace. Okay. Okay. It's okay. It's fine. Like, I'm not picking this highly. You don't need to have vehicles, but I don't know that I'm playing a 1 mana 2/2 2 turns later because it has Menace and because it drained 2. It's very filler. Like, you should be able to pick this up on the wheel. It's very slow, and I'm not super into it. Up next is Okiba Salvage. Okiba Salvage is 4 and a black for a sorcery at uncommon. Return target creature or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then put 2 +1/+1 counters on that permanent if you control an artifact and an enchantment. I spent years being swayed by graveyard to battlefield effects, and they were never very good, and they've still never been very good. Yes, I'm sure you lost to your opponent, reanimating some crazy nutso thing. So have I. But these cards are always expensive, and they're just never what I want to do. So I'm not on this card. I'm off this card. I will wheel this, and I probably won't play it. It's just very, very, very expensive. Because, like, it's 5 mana. You want to be returning a 5-drop, or a 6-drop, or a 7-drop, or an 8-drop. If you're returning like a 2-drop, at least it's getting 2 counters, but you need to be getting your mana value for this. And I just don't find that these cards often give me my mana value back. So I'll wheel Okiba Salvage. Up next is Reckoner Shakedown. Reckoner Shakedown is 2 and a black for a sorcery at common. Target opponent reveals their hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player discards that card. If you don't, put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature or vehicle you control. No interest. No interest. I don't like Thoughtseizes in Limited. I don't think it's valuable enough to make them discard a card. I don't think it's valuable enough to know what they have in hand. Is it a nice bonus? Sure, but I'm not paying a card and 3 mana for it, nor am I paying a card and 3 mana to put 2 counters on something at sorcery speed. This is an F. I will not play this card. Up next is Reckoner's Bargain. Reckoner's Bargain is 1 and a black for an instant at common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice an artifact or creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed permanent's mana value. Draw 2 cards. Get wrecked, Altar's Reap. Get wrecked, Altar's Reap. Like, Altar's Reap was 1 and a black, sack a creature, draw 2 cards. This lets you sack an artifact or a creature, you gain life, and you draw 2 cards. It's still not amazing. Altar's Reap was never amazing. It's something that you played if you were doing sack shenanigans, or just as like, hey, I need to grab some creature, or I need to grab some more cards, and I don't need this creature anymore, or I don't need this artifact anymore. You are wheeling this card, and you're not loading up on these cards, and you may not even be playing the first one. But you sometimes might play the first one. So, wheel for Reckoner's Bargain. Maverickut, thank you very much for the 11-month resub. Up next is Return to Action. Return to Action is 1 and a black for an instant at common. Until end of turn, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains lifelink, and when this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. We've seen this effect a lot in the past little while, and it's always been okay. It's a combat trick that if you have a spot for it, you can play it. And if you don't really feel that sad for not playing it. You can wheel these pretty easily. And yeah, like, you're not going out of your way to play this card, and if you happen to play it, you're also not feeling sad. Up next is Soul Transfer. Soul Transfer is 1 black for a sorcery at rare. Choose one. If you control an artifact and an enchantment as you cast this spell, you may choose both. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Cool. Sorcery speed, but cool. And or return target creature or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. Cool. This card's good. It's unconditional sorcery speed, 3 mana removal. It's murder. And sometimes, if you have an artifact and an enchantment, it's murder plus regrowth. Sold. I'll first pick this. Pretty happily. Up next is Tatsunari Toad Rider. Tatsunari is 2 and a black for a legendary creature human ninja at rare. It's a 3/3. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, if you don't control a creature named Kami, create Kami, a legendary 3/3 black and green frog creature token with, whenever you cast an enchantment spell, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Have your eyes glazed over yet? Pay 1 and a Simic. Tatsunari Toad Rider and target frog you control can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with flying or reach. So it's a 3 mana 3/3. That as long as you're playing green or blue, you can pay 2 and it has fake flying. And if you play an enchantment card, you get a frog. That then, whenever you play an enchantment spell, drains your opponent. And can also have fake flying. Card's good. I really deeply hope that someday we get cards that don't have books on them. Like what? I want a core set. I don't think we're ever going to get a core set ever again. Anyways, this is a first pick. It's a good card. Once you've read all of the text on it. You need to target a frog to use that ability. Tatsuni, Toad Rider, and target frog. Yes, you do. You do have to have a frog. It's still good, but you do have to have a frog. Up next is Tribute to Horobi. Tribute to Horobi is 1 and a black for an enchantment saga at rare. Step 1, Step 2. Each opponent creates a 1/1 black rat rogue creature token. That seems bad. On the backside, it's a 3/3 enchantment creature spirit with flying and haste. When Echo of Death's Wail enters the battlefield, gain control of all rat tokens. Haha, the rats are yours. Whenever Echo of Death's Wail attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, draw a card. Okay, so it's a 3/3 flying haste that probably also grabs me 2 1/1s. Unless, of course, my opponent ninjutsus their rats. You can ninjutsu a rat, right? You can ninjutsu a token. Yeah. But yeah, this seems good. It's a 5 mana fly 5 mana 3/3 of it is flying haste after 2 turns, and if you have the ability, you can sack stuff to draw cards. Seems good. First pick. Good card is good. Up next is Twisted Embrace. Twisted Embrace is 2 black for an enchantment aura at common. Enchant artifact or creature you control. When Twisted Embrace enters the battlefield, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. As long as enchanted permanent is a creature, it gets +1/+1. I mean, I really dislike that this is removal that can be countered by removal. Did I say 5 mana? Wasn't it 2? It's a 2 mana. I said 5/5 because it's 3/3 plus 2 1/1s. Yeah, this is removal that can be countered by your opponent removing the thing that you're putting the aura on. But that's it's a relatively narrow case. You can play around that. So this really is sort of 2 black, kill something. And then your creature that you threw this on gets +1/+1. The downside is if you're behind and have no board, you can't play your removal, which sucks. So this is going to get some knockdowns, but I'm still putting this in like the 5th, 6th pick range. You'll still play these, and they'll still be pretty good most of the time. It's just going to feel really bad when you like can't play your removal because you don't have a creature to put it on. And it's going to feel bad when you get 2 for 1 via removal. They keep the thing that you were hoping to remove. It's going to feel bad. But yeah, let's go 5th, 6th for Twisted Embrace. Up next is Undercity Scrounger. Undercity Scrounger is 2 black for an artifact creature human rogue at common. It's a 1/4. Tap to make a treasure token. Activate only if a creature died this turn. So this is pretending to be Sailor of Means, I guess. I've played Sailor of Means, and this is not Sailor of Means. Still fine, though. It's an artifact. It's a rogue. It blocks. It will probably make treasures. Yeah. This is fine. This is going to enable some obnoxious splashing in the black-red deck with treasures. Again. Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I suspect this will be playable. I suspect this will be in the 6th through 8th pick range. Yeah, let's see how it goes. Let's see just how splashy this format gets, and let's see if black-red ends up being the surprise. Play whatever you feel like because you have a lot of treasures deck. At least it's basically this one card, though, as opposed to being like every card in black-red, as it was in AFR. Up next is Unforgiving One. Unforgiving One is 2 black for a creature spirit and uncommon. It's a 2/3 menace. Whenever Unforgiving One attacks, return target creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the number of modified creatures you control. 2/3 menace for 3. To the battlefield, eh? Boy, here's a modify payoff. So I guess modify is red-green with like a slight toe step into black. Yeah, you want to modify stuff. If you can modify stuff and you can return like 3 drops with this, it's going to be pretty nutty. And if this is one of your modifications so that it's no longer a 2/3, make it into a 3/4 or a 4/4 or something. That's going to be even better. Give it flying. Yeah, I like this card. I think this is going to do some work as long as you build around it just a little tiny bit. And worst case scenario, like, what's the worst case scenario? You modify your creatures are all good, and you don't have this one, but your other creatures are still good? Cool. This is like a 4th, 5th pick for me. I think it'll be pretty good as long as you do just a little bit of work. Up next, our second last black card is Virus Beetle. Virus Beetle is 1 black for an artifact creature insect at common. It's a 1/1. When it ETBs, each opponent discards a card. No interest unless I'm desperate for artifacts. There's just better artifacts to play. Making your opponent discard a card early on doesn't matter. No. There's infinitely better things to play than this. This is a hard wheel, and It's going to be hard to find a place for this. Up next, our final card for black is You Are Already Dead. You Are Already Dead is a single black mana for an instant at common. Destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. Draw a card. It's not going to be as good as you think it is. It's not easy to just deal damage to the thing you want to deal damage to. You have to probably have a creature on board. The blocks have to work the right way. Your opponent has to not interact with that blocker. It is kind of like a death touch combat trick, sort of. It's not going to work all of the ways that you want it to. You get to draw a card if it does work, though, and it's not the worst thing in the world, but you are picking this late. This is the antithesis of unconditional removal. This is massively conditional removal. I would take one-ish of these somewhere around the wheel. It does say destroy, but it is very similar to Bladebrand. Just be aware of that. Yeah. Somewhere around the wheel for You Are Already Dead. Do not overvalue this. It's not going to be as good as you think it is. It's still playable. It's still playable. But that's going to wrap it all up for black. YouTube, I will see you tomorrow for red, and then I'll see you the next day for green, and then I should look at a calendar while we're talking here, YouTube. Multicolored, white, blue, black, red, green. Yep, I will see you tomorrow for red. I'll see you tomorrow for green, or the day after for green, and then I'll probably do a day of first draft on the 10th. So, see you in the comments, YouTube. Come hang out on Twitch. See y'all next time.